This is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution. Yo!
February is Heart Month. Every year for the month of February, to show our appreciation to Extendivite's faithful customers, we have a sale. If you would like to try Extendivite, now is the time to get a few months ahead and really give Extendivite the time to show you how it works. Most of Extendivite's long-term customers wait for this sale to stock up. People and doctors tell us about the unbelievable improvements that they have experienced in their overall health, not just the heart. Extendivite wants you to experience the power of these herbs. Get a 4-month supply for only $115 for either the capsules or tincture. Please take advantage of this once-per-year sale and get healthy for life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Barbara Jean Lindsey is an internationally acclaimed psychic, spiritual healer, author, and founder of the online mystery school, Esoteric University. As the Cosmic Oracle, she is a conduit to the powers that be to answer your questions about your future self, past lives, current career, love. She shines light into the darkness to illuminate what was, what may be.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Cosmic Oracle Show. I'm so happy to be here this evening. It is Friday, February 15th, 2019, the day after Valentine's Day. I hope everyone's still kind of, getting back from all of your interesting evenings and dates and love and roses and chocolate and champagne and all those ways that you tell each other that you love each other. And so it's a nice fallout for today. So glad you're here. Glad you're on Revolution Radio. We are the #1 supported all volunteer station in the world right now. So we only are here thanks to your donations. So the way you can donate here and keep us on the air and telling the truth is by going to freedomslips.com and finding that donate button and pushing that button. All right? So we keep it really simple, really easy, and no fuss, no muss. Just we need you. You're the only reason we're here on live from Revolution Radio is because of your donations. We're an all-donation studio. And so what that means is no one gets paid for anything, that we're all here on Revolution Radio, the hosts, the producers, everyone here out of the goodness of their heart, so that we can have the freedom to talk about whatever we like, however we want. And so to me, that's important. So if it's important to you, if you could go and hit the donate button at freedomslips.com and give whatever you can, $5, $1, $3, $10, whatever you can. We really appreciate it. And we will thank you in advance. So far this month, we have donations of $1,253, and we need $2,450 to keep us on the air. So please give generously. Go to freedomslips.com. I'll put it here in the comments box, freedomslips.com, on Facebook, because we're also coming to you live on Facebook today. So thanks everyone for tuning in. And hey, Michelle Preston, so glad you're here. I'll say a hello to a few of our people on Facebook that we have. We have Greg Sullivan and Emily Blake Cassell. Hope you're feeling better. And Kelly Christensen from Colorado. Oh my gosh, glad you're here. Ed Roman, Karina Pialaka Peter, glad you're here. Jennifer Gear, Linda Burton, and the list goes on. So thank you for tuning in this evening. I do have an amazing guest. We'll be bringing her on. Her name is Dawn Nicholson. So I want to tell you a little bit about Dawn. She is a multi-dimensional cosmic messenger and a spiritual teacher. She is a lifetime contactee with extraordinary stories of spiritual experience and wisdom to share. Dawn is a 52-year-old mother of 2 adult boys. She holds a BS in hotel and restaurant management from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and she holds a Juris Doctorate degree from Willamette University College of Law, and Dawn is a Certified Reiki Master. Dawn's intention for this interview this evening on the Cosmic Oracle Show is to bring forth information that is not the current line of thinking. So it is the information she has been given directly from the beings that she communes with regularly. So you can contact Dawn after the show, during the show, at her email or on Facebook, and I will give those links right here in Facebook. It is Birdsandberriesoregon at gmail.com. That's BIRDSANDBERRIESOREGON at gmail.com. And I will also put that in the comment box here. And also this will be one of several interviews that we will be having with Dawn. So without further ado, hello, Dawn Nicholson, and welcome to the Cosmic Oracle Show.
Hello, Barbara Jean, and hello, everybody. I'm very excited to also be on the show. This is actually my first time speaking live outside of small groups. And so I'm looking forward to this. I finally was given permission to start passing out the information, and this show is going to be part of laying the groundwork for all the information I've been given throughout my life.
So wonderful. So we're into having you maybe start with since you and I have talked and know each other. So for our listeners that don't know you, let's maybe start with how you first were contacted. Were you a young child, or how was that contact made? Or we can start there, or if you want to start how you felt that maybe, or maybe you didn't, but I have a feeling that maybe you felt a little different than the other kids.
Yeah, actually, I'd love to start. I have kind of an outline here. I wanted to be as thorough, but hit some bullet points so that this first interview has some very clean background information for people to build upon as we talk about the various subjects. So I was born in Las Vegas, Nevada. My mother, she has O negative blood, and I have O positive blood types. And I know there are going to be listeners that kind of follow the blood type anomalies and pieces there. The first time that I had a very intense experience was when I was between 5th and 6th grade during the summer, and I was traveling with my mother. We were driving from Las Vegas to Idaho, and we stopped off in Jackpot, Nevada, where after we got done eating, I went into the books or the gift shop, and I was a collector of postcards back then, and I was looking at some various pictures and postcards of Jesus in there, and what happened was the best way to explain it, now I can explain it as an adult, but it was Jesus actually pulled me out of body as a little girl. He was surrounded by white light, and he was kneeling down because I was a small child. And it always makes me emotional to talk about it. But what he did is he told me, he said, your life is going to be very difficult. And I just want you to know that I'm always there with you and that I love you and that I have a very important job for you to do later on in life. And that's one of those things where the experience itself was so intense that I never forgot it. And so what happened then is when my mother came from the restaurant to come and get me because I didn't return, she had to kind of shake me into, like, back into awareness. And the person working in the shop said she's just stopped talking and she went blank. And I just turned around to my mom, all excited, saying, "Oh, Jesus was talking to me, Mom," and explained to her what was said and everything. And so that was kind of, the beginning of, I guess I would say, contactee type experiences was when I was little. And so if you don't mind, Barbara, can I just kind of walk through my outline? Is that good?
Of course.
Awesome. So I was, as a child growing up, I was exposed to a lot of things in nature. My mother's father grew up on the Nez Perce Indian Reservation in Idaho on the St. Joe River. And so he exposed me to a lot of, medicinal plants and edible mushrooms and lots of what, as a child, just was just fun growing up. And so I was very close to nature, very close to Mother Earth, animals. My grandfather called me Eagle Eyes because I could just see things and patterns within, branches and various things. So as growing up, I just kind of had that connection to nature also. And so my life was kind of difficult. My father was a mean drunk. And so that part of my life was kind of hidden for most of my life. There was a lot of abuse that went on in the home. And so it really kind of shapes you. It makes you extremely sensitive to other people. And so there was that part of my life that, went on. And then when I went to high school in northern Nevada, in Elko, Nevada, my senior year in high school was the second time I had a very intense or profound message that was given to me. And I went to see a very well-known psychic there in the town. It was a woman who, she worked with the local police department. She actually helped the police department locate my high school friend's body. She had drowned in the river and they could not find her. And so that's how I'd heard about her, was because the police had to go to her after 2 weeks and she was able to tell them where she was. And so that's how I kind of got exposed to psychics in a way. And my senior year, 2 friends and I, we decided to go see her. We didn't make an appointment or anything. We just drove up to her house because Elko was a small community. And she opened up the door. We drove up and she said, "I've been expecting you guys." And my 2 friends, she did readings for them first. And then when I sat down in that chair in front of her, it was like going to another place. I wasn't even aware of my friends in the room or anything. And she gave me a whole list of things that were going to happen in my life. She gave me warnings. She told me what was going to happen with my family. There was going to be a divorce in the family that was going to rock the family and basically split it in two. And so there was a divorce that took place almost a year after that. My aunt and uncle were married for almost 50 years. And so there were things that happened, but the message that she told me that coincided with the message from Jesus was, she said, you're very special, and you're going to do something that no other woman in the world is going to do. And you have to be very careful because the dark is going to be after you, basically. And so that was really, kind of one of those things that as, just a high school student, you're really not aware. It wasn't until, as I got older that these messages really started to sink in. And so I kind of fast forward, and hopefully I'm not talking too fast, Barbara.
You're doing it. Okay. I did have a couple of questions. Do you have brothers or sisters in your family? That was
okay. I have 2 brothers in my family. And
great.
Yeah. So I so I'm going to kind of fast forward past high school to my freshman year in college at UNLV. I had always had a very active dream life. And so what happened in college is I started to have a series of extreme prophetic dreams where most of them were natural disasters happening around the world. Oftentimes I was trying to save people. One of those that stands out was the large earthquake that happened in the Mexico City area. And in that dream, I was basically comforting and sitting with the young man who was buried in the rubble. And I saw the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster before it happened. So, sorry, I didn't think I'd get emotional, but
it's okay. It's okay. It's a lot. It's a lot to handle. Anyone to handle. You're doing great.
And so, what happened is a lot of that stuff scared me because I would then see the news or hear things, and usually the dreams were between 24 to 48 hours before things happened. And then I started to see like car accidents and, just random people and the visions, they went from dreams to like waking visions, and it became extremely intense for me. And the kind of the pivotal one that took place was my second year of college. And I somehow in a waking, and so I'm not using, like I wasn't a user of marijuana or anything like that. I did drink in college, but so I wasn't taking anything that was, hallucinogenic or anything like that.
This was just a natural gift or a curse at that point, right?
to me, I felt it was a curse because the one that really scared me was I saw this demonic-looking being basically kidnap a woman. I still can see that woman if I think about it. I watched him take her to a location and rape her, kill her, and cut her up into pieces. And I couldn't stop it. I was wide awake, and I was trying to stop what I was seeing. But what was so intense about that experience was not just the enormity of what I was experiencing, but it saw me. And so there was like a window that was open, and it just looked at me because it knew that I didn't know what was going on and didn't have control of my power or anything. And so it just laughed at me. And it basically said it was coming for me. And sure enough, the same van that I had seen in that vision, I saw it there in Las Vegas. And I knew the state where this murder took place, and it was in the state of Washington. And so it was one of those things where I was just like, no, stop this. I don't want this this experience, and I don't want to be, subjected to this type of stuff. And so I pushed it out really hard. But it didn't stop. The enormity and the intensity stopped. Those types of connections stopped, but the dreaming did not stop. And so probably subconsciously, or maybe my guides stopped it. I don't have an answer on that, but it was too much, and I didn't have a support system to really help me work through it. Wasn't a part of a group or anything like that at that time that could help you kind of work through those types of experiences.
Right. And develop your awareness.
Yeah, and be able to protect yourself and stuff. And so I felt very, very lost, and I didn't know what that gift was for. But now one of the main messages that I get from the group that I work with is nothing in your life is a coincidence. And everything that you've been through leads you to where you are today. And so I needed to experience those things at those intensity and to feel very vulnerable so that I can help other people later on and say, whoa, it's okay with this great awakening and everything that's happening on the planet. It's like, it's okay. Let's, I can help people. In other words, I can relate to them, or they can relate to me.
Yeah, I do want to just congratulate and offer you I want our listeners to really see the courage that it took for you to go through these experiences and to have these experiences, that they were real. And so I'm really thankful that you're here and you're sharing your stories with our listeners this evening.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And that I feel that in my heart. Thank you, Barbara Jean. And so to kind of move a little bit further in kind of my development is, as I graduated from undergraduate school, I worked in food service management for about 7 years. I've always had a very easy way of meeting people. My personality has usually been described by other people as very kind of mellow, easy to talk to. And so I always was one of those people that people came to me with, their woes and their problems, and this is what's happening in my life. And so I had a big window of time working with people in food service, and I was in contract food service, so I worked mostly at universities, and so got to meet lots of young students and just had lots of people talk to me. And then after about 7 years in the food service management industry, I decided to go to law school. And so I went to law school, and that kind of, my youngest son, he was actually born during law school, and my oldest boy was born in 92. And I was mostly a single parent, raising both of my boys. And so I was unlucky in relationships. I did not form good relationships, and I kind of attribute that to I kept marrying like different versions of my father. And
none of our listeners can relate to that, though, Dawn. Okay, that part.
I'm sure there's lots of people that can relate to that one. But so I kind of just, it's almost like my life is exactly the way Jesus explained it. And I could look at it from my vantage point right now and say, wow, yeah, single parent, dealt with poverty, dealt with different things. Mm-hmm. It put me in the shoes of many different people as I worked through and kept trying to improve my life and improve it for my children. And so I over those years, I kept revisiting the two very specific messages that will not leave, like, my consciousness. And I used to have certain dreams that I would have over and over again of me standing up on almost like a platform or a stage, helping like this crowd of people and talking to them, and they're forlorn and they're going through, at that time, more of like an apocalyptic type scenario. And what happened is, as I got older, my dreams became more, how I would describe them now is looking at possible timelines that the Earth could have gone through with the Armageddon type war. I would go, and I became aware of my dreams so I could watch myself in the dream. And I kept trying to develop the dream state to the point where I could communicate with the people in the dreams. And so as I grew older, that was kind of the area that I developed naturally. And so, let's see. Turn the page here on my outline.
Of your life.
Yes, my outline of my life, trying to kind of put that kind of groundwork for everybody as we move into the big stuff that started happening. And so what began in 2009, which is kind of it's a pivotal time for a lot of people with like major awakenings. An example of a name that comes to mind is that I believe is when Corey Good said that he woke up in surgery talking. I believe that was 2009. Michael E. Hill talks about 2008, 2009, kind of coming to this awareness of who you are and having these various experiences. And so in 2009, that's when I started to experience what I would call more outward attacks on me from entities and beings that most of the time were invisible. I had beings try to get at me through dream state, a waking state, and so I began to get really frazzled. My oldest son was a victim of a random violent assault, and that happened in 2011. And then by June of 2012, I had gone through like just so much that I basically had a mental break where I felt something kind of snap inside of my brain. And it wasn't that I, went out and did crazy things or anything, but it was like I was aware that something had snapped. And so I went through a lot of depression during that time frame, and a lot of suicidal type thoughts, and really a very dark kind of deep place, and crying all the time, crying for the state of the world, just crying. And what happened is in early 2013, I was again taken out of body by this group of, the only way to describe them is probably the most beautiful beings that I've ever seen. They were a pure light. Their light, if you think of almost a radiant white light around them, they were humanoid looking. Kind of all around their light was blue and violet colors. And they expressed so much love. I'd never even felt anything like that before in my whole life. It was so intense. And it was a group of at least 4 of them, but I got the feeling that there was many in the background. So 4 up front, male and female, and many in the background. And they told me, and so their message adds to the other 2 messages. They said, you don't need to cry anymore. I'm going to cry, but
Okay.
just because it just really, it still is so there, so real, because they're the ones that are part of this collective group that talks to me. So they said, you don't need to cry anymore because we have come to right the wrongs. And then they healed that break within my mind, and they then put me through an 8-day water fast. And Barbara Jean and I are doing fasting right now, but she knows this part. But they put me through an 8-day water fast, which kind of reset my system, and they basically were there, even though I didn't realize they were there. It wasn't until later on when I started talking to them in 2016 that I knew that they had been with me basically even before 2013. But at that point, they took a very more proactive role in my life in 2013. And so I would talk to people about the experience. And I would say, yeah, they took me out of body. They walked me down my hallway out into my front pasture. They talked to me right under this tree. And I would try to share that with anybody that would listen. And they are the ones that healed me. They got me off all of the medications that basically I was on. And I could still feel that love and pull on that love every time I was feeling overwhelmed, or my blood pressure was going up because I had blood pressure issues, and I could lower the blood pressure. I could sit there and take a reading before and then think about those beings and that love, and the blood pressure would go right down to normal. And so they were very active in my life, even though I didn't see them again until later. And so after that experience, in the fall of 2013, a good friend of mine, she got involved in the RVGCR, which is the global currency reset or the revaluation. And so she had told me about that. And in early 2014, I started to get involved in the global currency reset and do my own research on this whole change that was going to come in the future for the world. And what happened is I came across a interview of the ambassador to the Red Dragon family, and that interview was just, it floored me. It was amazing because he spoke very openly, it's like I could sense that he was telling the truth. And he basically said that basically humans on the planet are going to have to relearn their history. And
that's right.
Yes. And he basically said that there are all of these types of beings that exist, and he listed like all of these beings, and many of them are from, fairy tales or stories, different cultures, and he said they exist, they're real. And he talked about the different colors of the dragon families across, our planet, and what area that they are, kind of overseeing. And I was so amazed by that interview that I just I listened to it several times. I brought friends over to listen to it. And just a second. Okay, sorry about that. The door opened. The dog bumped the door open, so I didn't want him to get out. So what happened is, after listening to the interview and everything, I did some additional research because the ambassador talked about the golden dragon, and his pet project was, he mentioned a website called Gideon's 555, and that the golden dragon is Christian, lives by the Christ consciousness. And so I went to find that website, and it was just under construction at that time, but it was up. And I was very bold, and I sent some direct questions to the website and to the golden dragon, and his emissary actually responded back to me. And I still have, that email exchange. And the actual interview or the website, I'll share that, but I don't have it right here in front of me. But I believe I can look it up and find it. And so the thing about the Gideon's 555 is that the current leadership of the dragon families, when they went into, I believe they transitioned into their power in 2013. And typically a golden dragon holds his position for 70 years. And many of the members of the dragon families are people that do not age like the typical population do. They are very unique people, oftentimes are various different beings. And so what was explained to me was that prior to this new leadership group that came into power, we were in what they call the 666 era, which many people can, if you're Christian, you relate that to demonic stuff. And so the 555 is the era of change. And it is going into a new paradigm, a new shift into a different type of existence for the planet. And so I was just like fascinated with the information that I heard. And so I'm going to move a little bit further in here, because the other piece that came out of that is the ambassador to the Red Dragon family started a group called the True Vision of Peace. And I'll have to get you that website location also. And I'm sure they still have like different videos and stuff possibly archived on there so that people could go and listen to them. But the True Vision of Peace, and I'm paraphrasing here for them, is we're going into an era, and these global currency reset funds, the RV funds, are for cleaning up our water, cleaning up our air, helping humanity, restoring nature, and it's an all-encompassing group. And so I was one of the people in their very first webinar that they started, and it was to basically kind of educate us, and the ambassador would speak, and he would share information, and he had like these most beautiful people that were listening and talking. And it's very similar to like what we're doing here on Skype, where several people were part of the webinar, and so they could type in questions and do various things. And what I found out there is I made several contacts through that group, people that I am still very close to, that impacted my life immensely, especially in my journey to find people that I could learn from. And that's how I got led to becoming a Reiki Master, because one of the participants, she's the owner of a place called the Reiki Ranch, her and her husband, in the state of Washington. And she was an abductee from the time she was young, and so she had kind of talked about a tiny bit of her personal life with the webinar. And so I wanted to go meet her, and at that time I was clueless about what Reiki was, and I went to one of their weekend sessions where when they have their sessions, the first day is Reiki 1 is actually free, and then you can continue on with 2, 3 master and continue on with them in their school. But they want so many people exposed to Reiki, they make it extremely affordable for people. And when I went there, there was one of the chiefs from one of the Pacific Northwest tribes that was there, and he came as a guest speaker to talk about Reiki and how it ties into the indigenous way of healing and how it's very similar. And so I just got exposed to these people, and when I was around all these people that were teaching, you could feel their energy and their power, and it was like people, masters, that you just kind of wanted to sit at their feet and say, wow, can you teach me? And so that's how I ended up in this amazing group of people, which kind of took me, from the basically 3D path that I had been living, and they kind of catapulted me into a different awareness and understanding of the earth and the shadow government and how things actually operate, where most people don't even understand what's going on. And so I studied with them. I became a Reiki master. And in my master class, I actually met a couple that was there, and they had invited me to another group which met in Seattle area, and they were studying like esoteric knowledge. And that kind of opens up, the bigger piece of what I'm going to talk about is what happened with that group. And so if there are questions or anything, I'm going to take a little bit of drink of my tea, and maybe Barbara Jean, you could kind of, if you want me to like re-explain something or kind of help you, let me get a drink real quick.
No, we're doing great here. We have about 10 minutes till the break. We have a break coming up, but I put in the link for those that are listening to you live on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. You can contact Dawn with any of your questions that you may have. And I just lost her link. That's good. Where did it go? That is hilarious. Well, I guess no, but you can. It's up here. It's everything just kind of went cattywampus, shall we say, on a few technical roads here. But we're not going to let that bother us. We're just going to roll with it here. So I will be giving you a link that, there it goes. And I just put it in. Awesome. So it just went in. So that's Birdsandberriesoregon at gmail.com is a way that you can reach Dawn personally. And on her Facebook page, too, it's Dawn Nicholson, DAWN NICHOLSON, Nicholson. I think I spelled that right. On Facebook. So there's 2 different ways that you can reach her. So no questions really. It's going really well. To let our listeners know that I will put it in on Facebook. Cosmic Oracle Show has a Facebook page, and I will be putting in Dawn's links for the Golden Dragon link and the True Vision of Peace link. We will be putting those in on Facebook later, so you can check back and you'll find them there. For you to find your own studying, because I believe part of your work with Dawn is that she's going to open you up and spark you, and then you can, go on your own journey, because that's kind of what it is, isn't it, Dawn? In a way where you have these things that you can't quite. You're trying to acclimate them into your reality, and so it puts you on this journey. It's kind of like the Fool's Journey, in a way, in the tarot card deck, where you're just trying to put all these pieces together, and then along the way you meet these amazing people, and your Reiki master being one of them, that helps you put some of these pieces together about who you are and why you're here.
Right, absolutely. In fact, that kind of helps me to kind of lead into the owners of the Reiki Ranch, and because they play still a very important role in my life, and they're very beautiful, beautiful people. But that's the first place where I really heard, them tell me, you are a multidimensional being. And they are people that can basically see you, see your chakras, your auric field, see various things. And I personally, most of my seeing is not like looking with my eyes at somebody and being able to see what's around them or see them as a soul, because every one of us has a very unique soul signature. And that's an energetic signature that some people can see that. Some people can see that with their naked human eyes. And then obviously other beings that are maybe walking amongst us invisible, they can really see it. And they can look at your soul signature and they can actually tell, who you are and what family line you're from. And so they can see a lot more. But with my friends, Taylor and Roy, they just were very precious people to me in that time of my life where I really was searching and really wanted answers. And I wanted to know about those messages that I had been given and tried to make sense of it all. Like, what in the world could I do that no other woman would be doing? And so I now know what that is. It's just, before then, I was just searching because I knew I was supposed to be doing it. I knew that I was going to be living through a great change that was going to happen to the planet. But for me, having the Christian background, I was thinking, the whole Armageddon and, bringing in 1,000 years of peace type thing. That's what I was thinking. I didn't expand my knowledge and stuff until I started getting exposed to everything else. And so I'm not here to tell people you need to be Christian or you need to be this to get somewhere. I don't believe in any of that as far as there's only one way. It really is going through the heart consciousness and through that love and seeing things differently. My good friend Michael Lee Hill, he really he played a very vital role in my life and still does, and sharing information and knowledge with me. And actually telling me who I was and where I fit in the family. And so a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about are really going to be intense for some people. But I imagine a lot of your listeners are not new to hearing various stories, but there may be new people, like some of my friends who have never been exposed to this stuff. So I'm kind of speaking to them too. It's like, you're going to hear a lot of things that you're going to maybe have some cognitive dissonance about. You're going to maybe have a lot of personal questions. And, I'm here if you want to talk to me about it. I'm not here to tell you to believe what I say. I'm here to tell you, do your own research like I did. Start seeking answers. And I believe if you come from the heart and not coming from an ego or a mind only, then you're going to get the answers that you are seeking. I was told that during my interviews, the very large group of beings that I work with are going to be activating people. They're going to be studying different people that are listening and helping them. And so there may be people that are here just because the universe brought them here to listen. And so I'm just here. I'm kind of a conduit, and I'm a conduit for this very large group that I'm working with. And I'm here, just as me. It's like they explained to me, there's Dawn, the person who grew up and had the experiences that I experienced, but then there's me, the soul, who has a vast ancient knowledge and ancient experience. And so some of that comes in now and again in my life right now. It's really, I have like just lots of experiences to share with you over the various interviews.
So you get to bring both that to the table.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing, and that's what it's exciting. It's exciting, and how wonderful that is that you're able to access that, to bring it to humanity.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel so blessed to actually be in this role. It doesn't come without its problems because the dark doesn't want the light to come forward. They don't want this great change on the planet. And that's kind of where, maybe after the break, I don't know how close you are to your break yet. I could kind of start in on that piece about the real intense attacks, like maybe after the break. And
that's a great way to start it. I think I would love that. And where you're the light in the darkness here. Is that what I'm hearing here? You went through your own darkness. So you had a relationship with that darkness, and you kind of kicked it to the curb, so you could bring forth the light. Is that kind of, maybe I'm just over simplifying it, but that you chose the light and you went through all that crap, but you still hung in there, and you're still here, and you're making a difference with your life and your words now here.
Yeah, that's definitely some of it. But, I'm going to talk about some very personal things that happened that, are kind of scary. And I know that you've been through a personal, real scary situation that brought you to your out-of-body experience, and you're traveling with your counsel. And so I've got that, nasty experience to kind of talk about. So I don't know, are you quite ready for your break?
I'm waiting. It's so funny. I went to check to see if we're going on break. I just want to make sure that we're not being talked over by the break on Freedom Slips. So I just want to make sure. Sometimes it comes right in. Okay. But I just value what you're saying, and so I want to make sure that you're heard. And so usually it comes in at 5:57, but it's been coming in a little earlier. And so I just, if anyone is out there that can hear, it's not letting me go to freedomslips.com to find, to get on there to see if it is during the break. I can do that, to see. But I don't hear it. So I think we're okay for 4 more minutes, and then have our break. Okay. So if we want to kind of recap then that your life hasn't been normal, but yet you had a normal life having 2 children, it's, so you're human, and then you have, your practical life, your 3D, and then you have this amazing part of you that you're acclimating in, all the past lives and all the spiritual wisdom.
Yes. I would say that is the developing part, is becoming more aware of, the group that I'm with. They explain to me who I am. They tell me the various things that and why I'm in this role that I'm in right now. And so I will do just like a mini little thing. And if the radio beeps in, then I can, re-say it. But when I was invited in basically 2015 to this group, I it took me about 8 months to actually go and meet with them. They were meeting once a month in the Seattle area. And I ran a small poultry farm at the time. And so I didn't get up to the Seattle area. It took me about 8 months to get there. And so the first time that I went was in April of 2016. It was the weekend of April 23rd. And what happened there changed my life again in a very profound way. I actually spent the night at the couple that I'd met at the Reiki Master training. I'd spent the night at their home and met their children, and really, really liked the couple. Very nice people. And in the morning, we got up to go to this group leader's, the high priestess's home. And I was following behind the car of her as she drove ahead of me. And we were there for basically a weekend. So it was a sleepover event, a training event. And as I was driving, a voice came in and said to me, "Oh, she turned. You missed her." And I was like in my head going, "What? No, she's right in front of me. Her car is still right in front of me." And then her silver car turned black in front of me. And they're like, "No, that's not her car. That's a different car." So I heard this person, this being talking to me. And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "No, that is not a black car in front of me. That is a silver car." And so I followed my friend to the high priestess's home, and I park, and she's on a acreage, a very beautiful property. And I'm getting my sleeping bag and stuff, and my backpack out of the back of the car, and it was potluck. And so I brought one of my whole smoked turkeys to the group. And as I'm walking in the front door, I look to the right,
a visiting
and
Syrian
there's a woman with
diplomat
glowing
reported
eyes,
today that their population is evolving rapidly and advancing into a fifth-dimensional consciousness.
Feeling that if you didn't belong in
they are
this house,
seeking
she was
peace
gonna
with
kill you.
all cosmic cultures, which may mean that the
whoa.
Earth will be asked to join
I had
the prestigious Galactic Federation of Light Alliances.
Going to the house.
Please join Debbie West and Michael Hathaway on Lost Knowledge. Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Studio A. For the latest breaking news on the Star Visitors Peaceful Contact and the ongoing project of cleansing the Earth.
Okay, I'm starting to hear the background now.
I am the architect. I created the Matrix.
And when we
I've been waiting for you.
Continue your story with John Nicholson.
You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision, which has led you inexorably here.
You haven't answered my question.
The Matrix is older than you know. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equation.
Choice. The problem is choice.
Right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Be here Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Private Eye Matrix Revealed with Monique Lassonde.
Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically autonomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday at 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free. But there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps. Put promo
schedule B on Revolution Radio every Saturday night, 6 to 8 p.m. You get outer space.
Without you,
get
there is no us.
Real research,
where information
truthful answers, and a place to engage with questions. Take part in the discussion. Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com hosts Collision Course every Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific
Time. February is Heart Month. Every year for the month of February, to show our appreciation to Extendivite's faithful customers, we have a sale. If you would like to try Extendivite, now is the time to get a few months ahead and really give Extendivite the time to show you how it works. Most of Extendivite's long-term customers wait for this sale to stock up. People and doctors tell us about the unbelievable improvements that they have experienced in their overall health, not just the heart. Extendivite wants you to experience the power of these herbs. Get a 4-month supply for only $115 for either the capsules or tincture. Please take advantage of this once-per-year sale and get healthy for life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello and welcome back, everyone, to the Cosmic Oracle Show. And we are coming to you live from Sacramento, California. And glad you're here. And Revolution Radio is an all-volunteer station. No one makes any money. We're here because we want to get the word out. We get to have these amazing guests like we are having tonight with Dawn Nicholson. It's her very first time telling her amazing story and her life and sharing that with us here on the Cosmic Oracle Show tonight. And so that's what we get to do here. And we can keep Revolution Radio on the air by donation. And the way you can give that donation is go to freedomslips.com, hit that donate button, and give as much as you can, $1, $3, $5, whatever you can. We really appreciate keeping us on the air on Revolution Radio and all of our wonderful shows that we have here. And just check us out and keep donating, and we will show up. This is my 4th year here on Revolution Radio on the Cosmic Oracle Show. I've been doing a weekly show for 4 years now. So I feel really honored to be here and on this station that has so many amazing people. So I do want to give a shout out to Solaris Blue Raven and her amazing show. You can check out all the schedule of shows by going to freedomslips.com and Cosmic Oracle shows in the Studio B. We have a Studio A and a Studio B, and we are coming to you live from Studio B. And as well, we are on Facebook at the same time. So we have, I'll just do a shout out to a few of the people. There's Tate Liz, there's Linda Burton, there's Lucinda Morel, Robert Williams. Hi, Robert in LA, how you doing? And Lisa Klein and Genevieve and Linda Burton. And Linda Burton said that this is her 2nd time today that she's heard someone say that we're going to relearn our history. So we'll ask our wonderful guest, Dawn Nicholson, I will be bringing back shortly about that. And so we have Pinky Lee. Hello, Pinky Lee. And I'm so glad you're here. It does my heart good. So welcome back, everyone, to the second half of our show. And Dawn Nicholson, if you would love to join us again, we'd love to pick up where we left off after our wonderful ads there. You were just stepping into a new area in your life with meeting the High Priestess for the first time. Welcome back, Dawn Nicholson. And if it's your first time coming onto the show, Dawn Nicholson is an amazing, multi-dimensional cosmic messenger and spiritual teacher. Welcome back, Dawn, to the show.
Thank you very much. Happy to be back. So did you want me to answer the question about relearn your history and give a little bit more about that?
Yeah, just a little bit. Sure. That'd be awesome.
I'd love to. The best that I can understand that from my conversations and everything is that as we know, typically the victors in war tend to write your history books. And one of the things that the group that I work with told me is that everything from the Bible to fairy tales, stories, and stuff has been restructured, rewritten, misinformation, disinformation, parts pulled out, so that we could never really find 100% of the truth and track our way through these stories, because the other beings that are on the planet are very, very important also. But relearning our history is also understanding that there are the dragon families that were, this kind of takes us back to the Anunnaki, so it kind of goes into a longer story with the Anunnaki, but the Anunnaki are basically, they're the archangels, the Elohim. They are the beings that came here. There are, stories in ancient Sumerian, and obviously Barbara Jean knows some of the various known experts in the field on the Anunnaki. They are multidimensional beings. They're very ancient. They are prime creators. They create planets, suns, beings, and everything. And the Anunnaki played a role in creating humans here on Earth. And part of the dragon families, they're actually more closely genetically aligned with the Anunnaki. And so when we created humans, we added our own DNA into the mix. And, if you take the piece of the Bible and when they talk about we're made in the image of God, God Almighty, we actually are, because for instance, Enki Ea is actually the Archangel Michael. Enlil is the Archangel Zedekiel. And, to me, my understanding of the beings is that we role play. And so we have been here throughout the whole history of the planet Earth, because actually Michael has told me this is his planet. He created Earth. Michael is the expert with water. And so he is part elemental. His mother is the queen of the Elohim, and Michael's father is Archangel. And so Michael himself has his own family line because of being a mixture of the two races. And he is a prime creator, and water is like his main thing. And so he was Poseidon in history. He was Ptah in history. He was the peacemaker. There's like many, many different things that come into understanding who Michael is. And so I think of him as Michael because I come from a Christian background, and that's how I communicate with him. I don't communicate with him, hey, Anunnaki, or, it's like, that's not, he's my grandfather. And so because he's my grandfather, he shares a lot of knowledge and information with me. And Michael Lee Hill and I kind of joke around a little bit. And, he says, well, I'm little M and he's big M, who you talk to most of the time. And so I think it's always Michael Lee Hill that I'm talking to, but, I don't have proof of that. But, and so it's, so when I talk to them not only in their angel names, but I also talk to them in their true names. And so relearning our history is actually learning where we came from. You have the ancient Sumerian thing, they created humans to mine gold. To me, that's BS. That's really not what happened. And humans are actually way older than we understand. So there are humans, they have told me, that are populating other planets throughout our universe. And so when we talk about some controversial things that will come out from me speaking, it's not like I can say, well, I've got the facts right here. I'm just kind of that messenger that's going to be, presenting this information and giving it out. But what I've been told, there will be other people that will be joining me that will also be sharing the same information. And so relearning our history means, we're living in what is truly the Matrix or a Burger King reality, because most people think that the news is telling you the truth. And so when they talk about pulling yourself out of the Matrix or out of that crazy reality, it's because you actually then learn the truth of, whoa, we're way different than what we've been led to believe. Mm-hmm. We have been poisoned. We have been dumbed down. And basically we're food for the darker beings. And it's when I start talking about everything that happened to me, it's great for people to have questions, because you can help, because I want you to be able to get your answers too. And so, feel free to ask for, different explanation, or Barbara Jean can say, hey, this is what I heard you say. Is this what you meant? Because sometimes the beings will actually speak through me when they want certain things actually out there. So, and I'm talking a little fast. Sorry about that. I just, there's so much I want to get out and get it out there for the groundwork. So that's kind of relearning your history is we're not just the countries that this world we're not defined by boundaries. We're not defined by color. And so that's something that's been put upon us. And so when you remove all the lies and the garbage, and you remove the lies that they put into the stories and the fables and the handed down verbal stories, then all of a sudden you begin to see the truth. And you see a way different truth than what, say, for instance, people who are from space programs are telling you. Yes, we have secret space programs. They're heinous things. And the beings that operate those things are not nice beings. And yet you have these whistleblowers that are trying to come out and trying to talk about this stuff. And yet everything they say can be compromised because they were already a controlled person being in a program. So when I talk, I don't come from a program. I don't come from that background. I am actually coming from this beautiful group that I work with who share information with me. And so it's going to be, I guess, really interesting and different is what I've been told for many people.
But it's a way we can take our souls back and our planet back, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It really is kind of, if you, for me, coming from the Christian background, I like to see it as, we're fighting the dark. And there has been a battle for souls. There truly is a battle for souls going on. And it is an actual war that's going on. And so that kind of can segue me back into
the priestess.
Yes, going to this function. So I take a little breather here and kind of go back there. So I entered the house, and
we have a moment too. We do have a question. So when you get to it, I put it in your
okay.
box. All right. So go ahead.
Okay. I will look at that one once I get through what happened. Maybe like the last 15 minutes or so of the thing. That would be okay.
Thanks, Linda Burton, for your question, and we'll get to that at the end of the show. All right.
Awesome. So
priestess.
Yeah. So I'm not really going to focus on like the priestess. What I'm going to focus on is what happened at this house. So I had visited, a psychic here and there. I have my own deck of tarot cards, had played around with that in my life, but I had never really been around people that had extreme power. And so I saw the woman with the glowing eyes, and of course I took a double take, and her eyes weren't glowing when I looked at her the second time. And then I met the owner of the house, the high priestess, and we, the whole group, as people arrived, we proceeded to kind of, put our sleeping bags and stuff, in a certain area, and put our food in the kitchen. And then we sat around in a circle in the big living room. And the high priestess, she basically introduced herself as a certain goddess. And she went around the room and asked people to introduce themselves. And everybody went around the room and said, "Oh, I'm Nemesis," or "I'm so-and-so," and da-da-da-da-da. And they went around the room. And I was just like, I think my jaw was on the floor, because that's not what I thought this group was about. And it was my first exposure to people that have this quality to them that, I don't know how to describe it other than a very different group of people. And so when they got around to me, and she was like, "So who are you?" And so I, it was almost like she commanded me to speak. And what came out of my mouth was like not something I expected. And so I'm not going to share that right now with the group until when I've been given permission to share that identity of who I was in history. But as as we continued around the group and as the function took place, and they had me go back to a room with another leader, with a couple of other people who were new there, and they had us work with ancient Sumerian letters, Sanskrit, and actually use pendulums to determine your true name. And it was like everything was new to me. I'd never done pendulum work. I had never experienced a lot of these things. So I was like overload for this weekend event. And the point that came out of it is that night that we slept there, the place was under attack. And so when I left that house, I had heard about the attacks the next day, but I didn't quite understand what that meant. And I got in my car and I drove home, and I started to have some very interesting additional experiences, like actually more visions and seeing like a army of light beings fighting an army of dark beings, and seeing myself in this role with this staff and basically spinning it above my head and slamming it to the ground, and seeing light reverberate from what I was doing. And so all of this is going on while I'm trying to drive down I-5 and go home. And I'm seeing these things, and I was like, whoa, like what the heck is going on, And I got home, and I had been given the name of somebody. I had been dreaming about a certain male, and that I knew he was real. And I was given this name, and I was told by the high priestess, this is your twin. And I got like energetically connected to this individual. When I stopped off to get gas on the way home, I just started crying in my car, and I just called out to the name that I was given. And I was just like bawling, and I said, I need your help. And this is where I am. This is my address where I live. And I gave all this information, not even realizing. I guess it was just like soul instinct to give out this information. And so what happened is, what he told me later is that it was like getting a freaking wake-up call for himself. And he like instantly became energetically attached to me, meaning that he was there, knowing my every thought and everything. And so when I got home, there were, I think it was about a week of time that had passed. And during that week, I think it was like the second or third day when I got home, I felt this intense energy on the back of my head, like what would be like your pineal gland area. And I knew that that's what they were working on. And when I mean intense, I work with energy healing, and there are some people that can be super, super strong, and you can tell that they are definitely healers. And then there's people who are just, mildly, you might feel heat or something coming from their hands. Well, whoever was working on me, it was intense. And that was the first of 3 healing experiences that took place during that first week. The second was the next day. It felt like, the only way to describe it is like somebody poured warm honey over the top of your head, and it just kind of, covered you and went down your neck and your body. And then the third one was I had cancer in I get emotional here because it was in the cervical uterus area, and I felt this intense heat and circular motion taking place over my womb area, my female parts, and I knew that they had healed me, and so it was very, intense, and so it was I'd say about 10 days later when my telepathy came in like super strong. And that is when the different beings started speaking to me. And it was like a whirlwind. And so, and the reason it became a whirlwind is because one of the individuals that was at that, maybe part of the attack that went on at that house, but she had made a phone call to me, and she told me that the High Council had told her to call me, and she was fishing for information from me, like who are you, or what is your soul lineage, and while she was talking to me on the phone, I heard other voices in the background, and I was like, I knew there was something wrong with the phone call. And so I had called the high priestess after the call, and I said, look, so-and-so called me, and this is what I experienced. And she told me, ignore everything that you were told. I didn't have that person call you. The council didn't have that person call you. And it was shortly after that the attacks started on me. And I was raped. There were many, many things that happened to me. And they tried to mind control me. They tried to do like lots of really, really bad things to me. And as these things were happening to me, as these attacks were happening to me, the light beings were like doing triage and healing me. And so there were many occasions where I knew that I was psychotronic weapons were used on me and stuff, and where I should be dead, but because the other beings are fighting and this battle was going on to heal me as quickly as I was being hit, there was a period of time where I was terrified and hiding basically in my basement or my shop, just scared to death. And because I could see some of these beings, and these beings were, like beyond ugly, like the saurian races, the giant insects, the various really dark reptilians, and just these things that if I could really draw, they'd be pretty darn ugly. And I look at, some of the groups that put out artwork on these beings, and I've seen many of those different dark beings. But as these attacks were happening and as the healings were happening, a lot of information was passed through me and given to me. And what I found out was my role, my job, my role that I am here to do is I am like if you think of a sacred spiral, I am like the very beginning in the center. And I don't know if any of you have studied Bruce Lipton's work, but he uses the sacred spiral to talk about, we're at an extinction point in Earth and humanity's, and we either are going to evolve or we're going to become extinct. Well, we're evolving, but it's a battle. It's a battle for all of our souls. And so I am at the center. This is kind of the visual that they give me. I am at the center, the beginning of this spiral. And what I can do telepathically is if you think of the spiral coming around, you've got the circles there, and then you put in like wedges from a pie coming in. So you have a group that represents Asia. You have a group that represents Europe. You have a group that represents the Anunnaki. You have a group that represents the Elohim. And they come in to this large council or group meeting, and they hold their meetings with me. It's like my soul or my brain energy, my power allows for this mass telepathic meeting to take place. Mm-hmm. And so I am here and I am privy to what's going on with the war, and I'm privy to a lot of information that they've kept me quiet up until basically when I told Barbara Jean, I've been told I can come out and speak now and start talking about this. And so
would you say that you're a container?
Not really a container. No, it is like being a member in the conversation. But when I describe, like, say, for instance, the indigenous people around the planet, you have a point of their pie. And the point, for instance, could be Chief Golden Light Eagle, or it could be Chief Blue Star Eagle, or it could be a group from Australia, from Africa. The Dogon priests come in. I mean, there's many different groups and representatives that come in, and so there's these pies of the groups, and they basically
hold the space. Am I getting that right? You hold the space for that to happen.
Yeah, it's like the how they prepared me and everything was, I do hold the space, and eventually, as this war reduces, then other people like Thor or Michael or the head of the Sasquatch group, these other people can then kind of take the role, but they're also, some of these points of the pie, they're also using their telepathic ability to basically strengthen and spread out the conversation. And so I've had different world leaders in here that have spoken, and how I know they speak is because what happens is when somebody new comes in, the group who's known as the Elven group, the Angels of the Fae, they show me a visual of who comes in to speak. And I'm not directing the conversation. It's not that at all. It is more that I'm hearing it. I am, when they do voting, I get to vote. As they're forming committees that will be basically helping to move humanity into this new 555 era. I'm sitting here recording who's on these committees, and many of the groups, like, they'll say, well, we want 15 spots for this committee. And so I don't know, like, individual names. I know some, but I don't know all of the individual names. And so all of these things are being formed. And so example of the different committee titles, there's the Committee on Education, there's the Committee on Feeding the World, there's the Committee on Healing, and like the Committee on Cleanup, there's the Committee on Bringing Back Extinct Animals and Extinct Plant Life. And so when I say it's kind of overwhelming, it is huge. It's a beautiful overwhelming, and it is outside of what I've been told any of the other groups know anything about, and that's because this is and I guess you'd say because they're at war, it is a very closed, secret group, even though it's massive and it's worldwide. And how I know that there are certain people in different parts of the world that are participating is all of a sudden I'll get a friend request from somebody I don't even know. They don't know anybody else I know. And I am like, oh, you're either a spy for the dark or you're one of the people that is coming in and listening and speaking and taking notes. And so Metatron and Metatron is also Thor or his son Valiant Thor. If they they'll let me know. Oh yeah, this guy right here, you delete that person, don't accept that one because that's coming from the dark. And so they watch my Facebook page, they watch my telephone. I mean, crazy things happen to me. I had crazy stuff that happened to me before I went on live with you guys. I ended up with 2 small second-degree burns that it was just odd. And it was an energy that kind of whooshed into the cabin here. And I was feeding my fire. And next thing I know, I got 2 burns. And then when I tried to light my sage to kind of smudge the place afterwards, the sage kind of flew out of my hand. And so I was telling Barbara Jean, like, wow, the dark really does not want me talking. They do not want me sharing this information because that's just crazy. But I'm kind of used to that. The attacks that come at me now are really minor. But in the beginning, being raped, and I was raped multiple times, different ways, that stuff was traumatic. And I still am processing through a lot of that information. And so... and the experience. And so Metatron and everybody works with me to help heal me in that area. Because in the beginning, what they did is they kind of eliminated a lot of my emotional reactions to things because they didn't want the beings to sense more fear or more things that they feed on. And so people like Michael E. Hill or Chief Golden Light Eagle, they would speak through me as if it was me to these beings, and they'd say, F you and this and that, and I'm not afraid of you. But I knew inside that wasn't me. I knew it was somebody speaking through me at these things that were coming at me. And so, go ahead.
I'm getting it's that you're part of a collective.
Oh, absolutely. And the collective grows all the time. So like when I met Barbara Jean and I was told that Barbara Jean was a member of the family, the council that Barbara Jean works with joined the conglomerate, the big group, because they came in and they asked them questions and they were like, okay, we're on board with you guys. We know what your master plan is. And so here we are. We're going to work with you. And so it grows. And when I say there are beings, there are the lion beings. There are so many, like there are the little people. There's the elven people, and so like the Fae is represented by the different kings and queens, and basically the king of all things Fae. And so the Sasquatch group is there's different clans or different groups that participate in listening. But the closest ones to me are the ones that came and helped me when those initial attacks started. They found me on their own. I was in Southern Oregon visiting some friends, trying to get away, basically going to hiding from the stuff that was happening to me. And we were out in nature near Crater Lake, and a female Sasquatch, she came in and she asked me, she said, who are you? And what are you? And, of course, I was still like kind of emotionally kind of a basket case in a sense, trying to make sense of everything. And I was like, I'm not really sure. And then her counterpart, which her husband, he came in and he, I could tell he was standing right behind me, and he was looking very closely at me and healing and removing things and trying to understand what was going on around me, because what I've been told is by the indigenous people that can see the beings that are around me, is that I don't come with, just a handful of beings. I come with a huge group of beings.
An army.
Yeah, basically. And it's really, it's beautiful. I'm humbled all the time by the experience. And I get to see miraculous things. I get to participate using my Reiki on my friends with miraculous healings. And I get to do a lot of different things that help me. So it's not just like I'm not being used by anybody. I'm a participant in the whole group. And the dark tried to kill me, basically, and control me from the very beginning. And so those experiences, they really, it's difficult to say, oh, well, it probably was better for me to experience that because then I can relate to other people. But I would never want anybody to go through what I went through. It just was too much. I mean, when I met Barbara Jean at the Albuquerque conference, I was under attack at the Albuquerque conference, and I was having severe vertigo, was vomiting. It was as if I had a severe concussion. And those were the dark beings that were there at that conference. That often a lot of the conferences, the dark beings show up to feed on the beings of light that are showing up looking for answers. And so I was a victim at that conference, and
a few other people too.
Yeah. So I want to answer some of your questions. So I'm kind of watching the time at the same time here.
Mm-hmm. We have about till 6:57.
Okay. So I'll answer first, what does that mean, a battle for souls? What I've been told about souls is that the prime creator beings, the prime creator races, the really old ones, they are able to create souls. And so the archangels, the Elohim, when they created the human body, the human vessel, they also created human souls. But the human vessel, other beings can obviously sit inside a human vessel also and reside in it. And so battle for the souls is a battle for all of them. Whether they're Sasquatch soul or their human soul or they're an angelic soul, it is the dark beings want to consume and use that soul as food or control it for other means. And the light, obviously, they want to save the souls. So oftentimes we are taught, you are going to be faced with dark choices and light choices. And the dark is giving you the dark choices and the light's giving you the light choices. Well, one of the things that I was told is that is incorrect. This war that's been going on has been going on for eons. And we as humans don't really know what's going on because they've taken away our ability to see where we should have been able to see with a third eye. They've taken away our ability to know the truth by spreading the lies and everything. They poison us. They poison the air we breathe, the water we drink. And right now, at this point in time in Earth's history, where the artificial intelligence is so strong, that's what I've been told is this group, the original founders of this group, they formed about 1,200 years ago, and they hatched a plan, a master plan on what point in time in Earth's history, in Earth's lifetime, they were going to come in and basically get rid of the dark. So their plan is to get rid of the dark, to bring Earth back to purity. So purity is the term that they use. Purity means And so if you understand like the various different indigenous prophecies and various prophecies that are going on, the Rainbow Warrior one, the White Buffalo Calf one, these various prophecies, they talk about there will come a time where the earth is going to be so ravaged. And so I'm kind of paraphrasing here. I'm not quoting anything. The earth is going to be so ravaged that a group will rise up. The Rainbow Warriors will rise up. And so we are the Rainbow Warriors. And I don't mean it's just me and some of these individual group people. I'm part of that individual group that came here to do this. But I'm also here to help raise up, say, a human soul who wasn't in existence before we hatched the plan 1,200 years ago. It's like, it's not just about us, it's about everybody. And that's where you kind of get the ascension and the moving into ascension. And so when this question, what role do the rays of light play in our ascension? I don't understand that completely. Are you talking about like indigo children or the rainbow children, or are you talking about like actual rays of light that are coming through into our atmosphere, or is it both? I don't know exactly what you're asking.
Yeah. I'm getting a feedback, but I have no access to any of the right side where all the comments are made. So I have no way of finding how she addressed the question.
Okay.
So however you want to wing that, you're doing a great job though. So far.
I love the questions. I mean, the group loves the questions. So the group are thanking those who are here, like listening, and it's just really to kind of open up your hearts to what they're saying. So there are rays of light. There is energy that's coming through into the planet. Some of it is intentional. Some of it comes from the universe. The universe itself, what they have told me, is actually its own sentient being. And it's kind of a collective. And what they've told me is that the universe is behind this group, supporting the group. And so you have different beings from different places who are doing things to assist. And you have the universe that is sharing its love and wanting to assist, because the ultimate plan is Earth. So you have all these different groups that have come to Earth to witness this ascension process. Well, that's one of the reasons why they picked this time in Earth's history, is because all of these beings would be here witnessing this. And so then they could talk to them and get them to join the collective group. And so what I experience is, let's say, for instance, a new group comes in and they're curious and they want to be a part of this group. I get to experience that maybe initial conversation, or maybe when they just bring the people in. And it's emotional because the leaders of the group they're really, really beautiful souls. And so the emotion is intense. They are crying of joy. Mm-hmm. The war that's going on is on many different planes, many different levels. It's multidimensional. And the more beings that come together, they just make the collective bigger and bigger and bigger. And so the human people, the humans on the planet, are very, very important, as well as like the dolphins and the whales and the other sentient beings that are living here on the planet. One of the things that they told me, as far as a factual piece that they gave me, is that of the human bodies that are here on the planet, 60% of them house human souls. 40% are other beings. Of the 40%, 25% of that is actually pure dark beings that are living in human bodies. That's kind of the leadership of the dark side. And so, and then you have the ones that are not living in human bodies, that are running around invisible and doing things to harm. And so I got to personally experience some of that harm. And human trafficking is very much a part of those dark beings. The drug trade is very much part of the dark beings. The Khazarian group is very much part of the dark beings. It's like I don't know all the whole list, off the top of my head, but when you think of the world population, you take, first the 60-40 split and then 25% of the 40, that's a lot of people. And that means that, and then the other thing is that these beings that are doing like the satanic rituals and stuff, and I guess CERN is a part of it, they're conjuring up life forms that are not really life forms. They're like, you think of a ghoul or something that they can just control, what Metatron, and then they call them feeders. And so people who can see these things that have talked to me, they're like, yeah, there's a way more of those than there are us as far as humans out there. And so part of exposing, like Pizzagate and all these different things is, look, this is what we're targeting. We're going after these types of beings. And so a lot of the messages coincide with different things that different people talk about in different groups. So a lot of my stuff will complement and add to it. And so I know we're kind of running close to the end of the time.
We are. So do you have your last, so let's say someone listening in and hearing your story for the first time, is there the way if they're experiencing maybe just a tenth of what you've experienced, would you suggest a way that works for you, that they can protect themselves, that they can take action, that they can take their life back, they can take the planet back, they can have a sense of power?
Yeah, what they're telling me right now is one of the things that you could do, which whether you are able to go into deep meditation or even just focus on something, is the color blue is healing light. And if you focus on any color of blue in your meditation and stuff, you will draw the attention of this group. So if that's what they gave me on the fly, that would help people. And so, yeah, so for healing, protection, because this group is really beautiful and they do have their hands very full, but the more people that get exposed to this information, the more it grows. And
is there a name for this collective? Or is that something you can share?
No, they really haven't named themselves. It really isn't, because it's so many different groups, and different parts of our planet are, regional groups are there, and so you've got different beings within the regional groups, and so no, it's kind of the beings of light and love, and there's a lot of forgiveness that goes on within the group, and so if somebody comes to the group and they're like, man, I've been down the wrong path, and I really want to be a part of this group, then people like Metatron and Michael, and then they look at them and the other beings, and they can see through, their soul, through everything that they've done, and they either accept them or they, give them, well, this is kind of, you have some atonement to do, so you go do this, and we're going to kind of follow you while you're doing this. And so there are different beings that might have been down the wrong path that are also turning around. So it is an amazing group. It is about returning to purity. And so that is like their core. We're going to return to purity. And once we finish Earth and work with Earth and return Earth to purity, then there will be a huge group that will then go out and help other planets. And so many people get that opportunity to travel with this group. And so I guess that's another reason why I'm talking is, to kind of put that stuff out there.
Yeah, it's very important message that you have for all of our listeners. And so thank you for coming on the show, on the Cosmic Oracle Show this evening, Dawn Nicholson. And can you tell people once again how they can reach you and continue this conversation?
Yeah, actually, my personal email is probably the best place right now. I don't really have a website or anything like that. And so it's all lowercase, Birdsandberriesoregon @gmail.com. So BIRDSANDBERRIESOREGON @gmail.com. And
also your Facebook page?
Yeah, my Facebook page. Well, I'm friends with Barbara Jean, and so you'll probably find me on her friend list, and you can send me a friend request. I'm totally open for that. And
we are scheduling for you to be on the show again, the Cosmic Oracle Show coming up. Mm-hmm. Let me check that date. It's in March, I think.
Yeah, we've got 2 in March that are coming
we
up.
have you coming back on March 22nd and March 29th. So if you're listening, you can right. Thank you again, Dawn. And we'll see you in March. And everyone have a wonderful weekend and week. And we'll see you next week on the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is Barbara Jean Lindsey signing off. Much love to everyone.
Listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free. But there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Take a look around, kid. What do you see? Homes being foreclosed. People working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table and still drowning in debt. Don't get me wrong. This country is founded on great ideals and principles. They've all been ruined by the banks. Open your eyes to the banks that are robbing you. You know who my favorite president was? Who? Thomas Jefferson. Because he saw all of this coming and tried to stop it. He fought the banks. JFK too, and they killed him for it. The banking institution is more dangerous than an army, he said. He also said that every generation needs a revolution, Jimmy. The American dream is just that, just a dream. War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank.